It was a regular Thursday afternoon when my life began to crumble around me. I was just finishing up some work at one of the gas stations my dad owned when I received a text message from a number I didn't recognize. It was the wife of one of my wife's friends asking to meet me urgently. I agreed, feeling a knot form in my stomach. When we met at a quiet coffee shop, she nervously handed me her phone showing me a video from the bachelorette party my wife had attended a few weeks prior. I felt my heart drop as I watched my wife kissing another man passionately, their hands all over each other. It was clear they were having sex hidden away in a corner with everyone else, too preoccupied with the festivities to notice. And she also told me my wife had a threesome later that night. After watching the video, I could barely speak. The woman who had given it to me explained that it had been weighing on her conscience and she couldn't keep it a secret any longer. As she left, I sat in the coffee shop reeling from the betrayal. Once I managed to collect myself, I drove to my dad's place filled with anger and confusion. I told him everything, telling him about the video and explaining my plans for divorce. He urged me to keep quiet about the trust and the true extent of my financial situation. I agreed, knowing that it was the smartest move to make. Over the next few days, I focused on preparing for the legal battle ahead. I hired an attorney and showed him the video, instructing him to file for divorce on the grounds of infidelity. He mentioned the possibility of suing the other man, but I decided against it. It was enough to know that my wife would soon be out of my life as I continued to make arrangements for the divorce. I couldn't shake the feeling that I needed to confront my wife and in some way, so I transferred the incriminating video onto a flash drive, placed it in a small white envelope and drove to her workplace. I found her car, opened the door and placed the envelope on her driver's seat. About an hour later, I received a frantic call from her. I could tell she was crying, begged for forgiveness. I told her to save her tears and find an attorney before hanging up. Something told me to leave the house. So I stayed at my dad's place for the night during her countless calls and messages in the weeks that followed. I avoided going back to the house when I knew my wife would be there. Instead, I would visit when she was at work, gathering anything I needed and working on the property. I knew it was only a matter of time before she would be forced to leave. My wife didn't fight the divorce when she would serve the papers. I noticed that her belongings slowly began to disappear from the house. A sign that she was preparing to move out. Despite this, she could continue to send me messages apologizing and professing her love. I never responded at the divorce, hearing my wife didn't have an attorney. I assumed she couldn't afford one. The judge granted the divorce and ordered her to move out of the house within 45 days. It was a bittersweet victory, knowing that our 4-year marriage was officially over. In the aftermath, I couldn't help but feel heartbroken by her actions. I had already experienced betrayal in a past relationship and couldn't believe she would be so brazen to cheat on me like that. As the dust settled after the divorce, I found myself focusing on rebuilding my life. I threw myself into my work, helping my dad run the gas stations and saving my money. The pain of betrayal still lingered, but I was determined not to let it define me. I spent time reflecting on the past, questioning how I could have missed the signs of my wife's infidelity. It was difficult to accept that someone I had loved and trusted could hurt me so deeply. Over time, I began to heal. I focused on self-improvement, investing in my mental and emotional well-being. I started reading books to help me deal with all of this mess, which allowed me to work through my feelings of anger, betrayal and sadness. I also began to take better care of my physical health, exercising regularly and eating well. These small changes had a significant impact on my overall well-being, helping me feel more in control of my life. As I continued to heal, I rediscovered hobbies and passions that had taken a back seat. During my marriage, I started hanging out with old friends again and made new ones, building a strong support system to help me through the rough times. I began to explore new interests, realizing that there was so much more to life than the toxic relationship that had once defined me. I found joy in the small moments and satisfaction in my personal achievements. Despite my progress, I struggled with the idea of trusting women. Again, I knew that I couldn't let the actions of 2 women define my entire perspective on relationships. But the fear of being betrayed again, loomed large in my mind. I kept referring to my books that I read to help me try to overcome these fears, slowly learning to trust myself and my instincts. As I gained more confidence in my judgment, I began to open myself up to the possibility of new relationships, but not right away. I didn't mind going on dates, but that was about the extent of it. Eventually I reached a point where I felt ready to try date again. While I was cautious at first, I found that my experiences had made me stronger and also taught me what red flags to watch out for. I knew what I wanted and what I would not tolerate in a relationship. And this clarity helped guide me as I navigated the dating world. Though I encountered setbacks along the way, I never let them deter me from my journey of rediscovering myself and healing. I knew that one day I would find someone who would love and respect me the way I deserved. Until then, I would continue to grow, learn and appreciate the life I had built for myself. But right now I was taking my time. I am still young in my early 30s. I have some time to figure this all out. I came across Tony's channel last year. I wanted to share my story then, but I was too ashamed. But I have grown since my divorce and felt it was the right time to do so.